good morning. You're watching DD India and I'm Preeti presenting this edition of News on the Hour, a show which we get for you every day to make sure you keep yourself updated and keep yourself abreast with everything that's making it to the headlines. We'll get you national updates, international updates, updates from the world of business, sports, enough for the next 1 hour for you to be with us. First, the headlines. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, along with his Israeli counterpart, holds virtual meeting with foreign ministers of US and UAE through video conferencing, working together closely on economic growth and global issues discussed. In Uttarakhand, light to moderate rains continue in most parts of the state. Schools have been closed as a precautionary measure in some districts. NDRF kept on standby mode. Madhya Pradesh also receiving moderate to heavy rains. Meanwhile, flood situation continues to be grim in Kerala. Many of the west-flowing rivers are still flowing above danger level. India's cumulative vaccination coverage crosses 98 crore landmark. 13,058 new cases in the last 24 hours reported. Meanwhile, eSanjeevani, India's leading telemedicine service, has clocked 1.4 crore consultations. This initiative has over the time gained immense popularity in being able to deliver healthcare services through digital platforms. Niti Aayog launches Geospatial Energy Map of India. The map attempts to identify and locate all primary and secondary sources of energy and their transportation and transmission networks to provide a comprehensive view of energy production and distribution in the country. In Nigeria, gunmen kill at least 43 people in an attack in a village market in the northern state of Sokoto. Police confirms that bandits attacked Goronyo. Nigerian troops conducting air and ground operation against bandit camps in the area. In ICC Men's T20 World Cup, Scotland to play Papua New Guinea in Group B qualifier, while Bangladesh to face Oman in a do-or-die game. And Eid Miladun-Nabi is being celebrated across the country today. There will be no large-scale Milad processions in view of COVID restrictions. President, Vice President and Prime Minister extend warm greetings to all on the occasion. All right, those are the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail. Now, India and Israel have agreed to recognize COVID-19 vaccination certificates of each other. This was announced by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar following talks with his Israeli counterpart, Yair Lapid. Dr. Jaishankar, who is on a 3-day visit to Israel, held meetings with government officials, business leaders and the Indian Jewish community there. After the talks with Israeli Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that he had a very productive discussion on a wide range of regional and global issues. He said that he discussed resumption of free trade agreement negotiations between the two countries next month. Dr. Jaishankar also welcomed Israel as the newest member of International Solar Alliance. The External Affairs Minister also held a meeting with foreign ministers of US, UAE and Israel. Dr. Jaishankar and his Israeli counterpart, Yair Lapid, joined the virtual meeting with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and UAE Foreign Minister Abdul bin Zayed. The minister termed his first meeting with the foreign ministers as fruitful and said that they discussed working together more closely on economic growth and global issues. During his visit, Dr. S. Jaishankar unveiled a plaque at the Indian hospice inside the walls of Jerusalem's Old City. The plaque reads, Indian hospice established in the 12th century AD, supported by Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi. Sharing pictures on his Twitter handle, the minister said that the Indian hospice, renovated with support of Indian government, represents another historical connect with Jerusalem. Dr. S. Jaishankar also unveiled a plaque commemorating the Bhudan Grove planted by Sarvodaya workers on 22nd of May 1960. The plaque at the Jerusalem Forest brings out lesser-known aspects of Indo-Israel relations. The minister said India-Israel relations have many facets and many contributors. The External Affairs Minister also visited Kadavumangam synagogue at the Israel Museum. The minister shared pictures of his meeting the younger members of Kochini Jewish community there. A visually impaired Indian Jewish girl welcomes the External Affairs Minister at Shalva National Center in Israel by singing a song from a Bollywood movie. The gesture left Dr. S. Jaishankar and his delegation emotional. And back home, an update on the nationwide vaccination drive now. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 98 crore milestone. Over 98.67 crore vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far. According to the Union Health Ministry, over 87.41 crore vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours. And India continues to battle the pandemic, and with timely testing, treating and administering of the vaccines, the country has been containing the spread of the infection. On Monday, 13,058 new infections were reported in the country, which is the lowest in the last 231 days. The recovery rate is highest since March 2020 and is currently at 98.14%. 19,470 patients have recovered from the virus yesterday. That has increased the total recoveries to 3,34,58,801. Active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases. The active caseload currently is 0.54% and it is the lowest since March 2020. Active caseload is the lowest in 227 days and now stands at 1,83,118. As for testing, 11,81,314 samples were examined for COVID on Monday, and so far a total of 59 crore 31,06,188 samples have been tested. eSanjeevani, India's leading telemedicine service under the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, clocked 1.4 crore consultations. Operating in two variants, that is eSanjeevani ABHWC and eSanjeevani OPD, this initiative has over the time gained immense popularity in being able to deliver healthcare services through digital platforms. eSanjeevani ABHWC, a doctor-to-doctor teleconsultation system launched with an intent to alleviate the urban-rural divide in terms of health services, works on hub and spoke model. eSanjeevani OPD, launched on April 13th this year, aims to provide safe doctor-to-patient consultations. eSanjeevani OPD is available as a mobile app for both iOS and Android smartphones. E-Sanjeevani as a whole is addressing the shortage of doctors and specialists at the ground level, while also reducing the burden on secondary and tertiary level hospitals. In line with the newly launched Ayushman Bharat Digital Health Mission, this digital initiative aims to constantly improve the digital health infrastructure of the country. And with COVID cases declining, all schools in Assam reopened today for classes 1st to 8th and also class 11th. A fresh SOP has been issued by the state government for reopening of the schools. Classes are being held in accordance with COVID-19 protocols issued by the government. The SOP also mentions that classes are to be held only for 3 days in a week for classes 1st to 8th. The order also mentioned that the school must not accommodate more than 30 students in a single section. The school authorities can, however, add more sections if needed. Further, the school is not allowed to organize any cultural functions, meetings or events until further orders. Apart from physical classes, the schools can continue providing virtual options and online classes as well. And colleges in Maharashtra will resume their activities from tomorrow, as the state government has allowed to open the colleges in the state with some restrictions in the backdrop of the improved COVID situation. The stakeholders will have to follow COVID protocols, and also the SOPs in this regard have been issued by the government. According to the SOPs, only those colleges are allowed to reopen where the concerned authorities have not imposed any containment restrictions. Only those students and teaching and non-teaching staff is allowed to enter the college premises who have completed their vaccination with both the doses of the COVID vaccine. Those who have not completed their vaccination are told to do so on priority. The classes will be conducted with 50% attendance, and the colleges have been asked to stagger timings for entry and exit of different programs conducted in the colleges. All the COVID protocols, which include wearing of face masks, using hand sanitizers and maintaining physical distance, are mandatory for the colleges. Special arrangements like online lectures will be made for those students who are not able to attend the colleges physically. You're watching News on the Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short while.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour. In Uttarakhand, all major rivers are in spate following heavy rains in the last 2 days. Many rivers of the state are flowing close to the danger mark. Due to heavy rains in Chamoli district, excessive amount of water has been released from Kushinagar Dam. As a result, water level in Ganga River has risen. People living near riverbanks are being sent to safer places. The government and administration in the state is on alert mode. All departments of the state are put on high alert in view of weather warning. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami himself is keeping a close watch on all the districts of the state and is in constant touch with district magistrates through phone. Meanwhile, Gangotri National Highway in Uttarkashi district and Rishikesh Badrinath National Highway in Chamoli district have been blocked following landslides at two places. Several circuit roads connecting villages in hilly areas have also been blocked due to landslides. The work of opening of the roads on priority basis has been initiated. The State Emergency Operations Centre is keeping a close watch on the situation arising due to rains in the state. So far, 5 rain-related deaths have been reported in the state. Many parts of Madhya Pradesh are also receiving moderate to heavy rains. The Met Department has issued a yellow alert for heavy rains in various parts of Madhya Pradesh today. The department has forecast that moderate to heavy rain with thunderstorms will continue for 2 to 3 days in many districts of the state. Meanwhile, several parts of the state, including the capital Bhopal and Indore, have been receiving intermittent rainfall since yesterday, making the weather pleasant. All right, an update on Kerala rains now. The state government has taken all necessary precautions before opening of all the 10 dams which were put on red alert yesterday as the water level of the dams was rising. Idamalayar and Pampa dams opened today morning to keep the water level below 90%. High alert has already been issued to the people to stay away from coastal zones and not to engage in fishing or any other activities in water bodies. The shutters of Idukki Dam will be raised at 11 a.m. today. The State Electricity Board has already alerted people in this regard. A warning has been issued to people residing close to River Periyar. As the shutters of Kalke Dam were opened, the pilgrimage to Lord Ayyappa Temple in Sabrimala has been put on hold for the time being. Red alert has been issued to 10 dams located in Idukki, Pathanamthitta and Thrissur districts. Meanwhile, the State Minister for Fisheries, Saji Charan, has called for high alert in Kutanad. As the shutters of Kaki Dam were raised yesterday night, people at Kutanad and Chenganur areas were evacuated to safer zones. The search operation in the landslide spots of Kottayam and Idukki districts was stopped yesterday as all the bodies of the victims have been recovered from the debris. The death toll in the rain-related incidents in the state remains 26. IMD, meanwhile, has said that a fresh spell of easterly wave is likely to affect South Peninsular India from October 20th and will cause fairly widespread rainfall with isolated heavy falls over Kerala during 20th to 22nd of October. A yellow alert has been issued for large parts of the state during this time. Meanwhile, opening of colleges had also been postponed to 25th of this month. Kerala PSC exams to be held on 21st and 23rd of this month had been postponed on account of heavy rainfall. Meanwhile, A. Alexander, District Collector of Alappuzha, also took stock of the flood situation and interacted with people living in the flood-affected areas. Rainfall continues in Himachal Pradesh. A link road was blocked in Himachal Pradesh's Kinnaur district due to flash floods triggered by heavy rains on Monday. According to information received from Kinnaur district, the link road from National Highway 5 to Murang has been blocked due to flash floods at Khokpa Nala in Murang Tehsil. Earlier on Monday, Lahaul-Spiti district in Himachal Pradesh and upper reaches of Badrinath in Uttarakhand received snowfall. The IMD also reported that mercury has dropped in the district, especially in Peoplekoti, Ghat, Pokhari areas, including district headquarters Gopeshwar. The areas at the higher altitudes have also received snowfall. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Kushinagar International Airport on 20th of October. The international airport will get operational this week to ease the cumbersome travel of earlier times and also facilitate air travel requirements of international Buddhist pilgrims in India. The inaugural flight will land at the airport from Colombo, Sri Lanka, carrying 125 dignitaries and Buddhist monks, highlighting the convenience to Buddhists across the world to visit Mahaparinirvana Sthal of Lord Buddha. The Airports Authority of India, in its continuous endeavour to upgrade airport infrastructure in the country, has developed Kushinagar Airport with new terminal buildings spread across 3,600 square metres at an estimated cost of 260 crore rupees in association with Government of Uttar Pradesh, considering the demand of the domestic and international visitors and pilgrimage. The new terminal is equipped to handle 300 passengers during peak hours. Kushinagar is an international Buddhist pilgrimage centre where Lord Gautam Buddha attained Mahaparinirvan. It is also the centre point of the Buddhist circuit, which consists of pilgrimage sites at Lumbini, Sarnath and Gaya. The airport will help in attracting more followers from Buddhism from home and also abroad to Kushinagar and will enhance the development of Buddhist theme-based circuit. UIDAI will host Aadhaar Hackathon 2021 from 28 till 31st of October. The hackathon is targeted at young innovators who are still at various engineering institutes and are eager to step into the real world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a clarion call to celebrate the 75th year of independence of India as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To celebrate this momentous occasion, UIDAI is hosting the hackathon, which is themed around two topics. That is, the first around enrollment and update, which essentially covers some of the real-life challenges being faced by the residents while updating their address. The second theme of the hackathon is around the identity and authentication solution offered by UIDAI. Under this theme, UIDAI is soliciting innovative solutions to prove identity without sharing the Aadhaar number or any demographics information. Also, it is looking for innovative applications around face authentication, that is API, the newly launched authentication modality of UIDAI. The objective is to popularize some of the existing and new APIs to solve the needs of the residents. And every day we get you a glimpse of the freedom struggle, and today's episode of Saga of Freedom, we will talk about V. Ramalingam Pillai, who was popularly known as Namakkal Kavinnar. Ramalingam Pillai enlightened the youth of Tamil Nadu through his novels and songs, and also we will pay tributes to Nirmala Deshpande, who is known to be the spirit behind peace marches in Punjab and Kashmir when violence was at its peak in those states.
On 19th of October 1888, V. Ramalingam Pillai, popularly known as Namakkal Kavinnar, was born at Mohanur in Namakkal district in Tamil Nadu to Venkataraman and Ammani Ammal. His father worked in police department. He did his BA in 1909 from Bishop Heber College at Tiruchi. Initially, he worked as a clerk at Namakkal Tahsildar's office and later worked as a primary school teacher.
He wrote hundreds of poems with patriotic fervour. He also participated in the salt satyagraha against the British government in 1930 and went to jail for 1 year. His novels and songs enlightened the youth of Tamil Nadu about the freedom movement and Gandhian ways of fighting with the enemy.
Ramalingam Pillai, who was fondly called as nationalist poet, wrote, "Without sword and without blood, a war is being waged. Those who believe in the immortality of truth can join without hesitation."
காந்தி என்ற சாந்தமூர்த்தி தேர்ந்து காட்டும் செந்நெறி மாந்தருக்கு தீமை குன்ற வாய்ந்த தெய்வ மார்க்கமே.
His novel Malaikallan was made into a Tamil film post-independence and became a super hit film and won President's Medal for Best Film.
கத்தியின்றி ரத்தமின்றி யுத்தம் ஒன்று வருகிறது, சத்தியத்தின் நித்தியத்தை நம்பும் யாரும் சேருவே.
This film was later remade in Hindi as Azad. His poems on the pride of being an Indian and Tamil, and his verses on Khadi are being quoted even today in Tamil Nadu. He received the Padma Bhushan Award in 1971. Nirmala Deshpande was born to Vimala and Purushottam Yashwant Deshpande in Nagpur on the 19th of October 1929. Her father was the recipient of the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1962 for his work in Marathi Anamikachi Chintanika.
She did MA in Political Science from Nagpur. She also studied at Ferguson College, Pune. Thereafter, she served as lecturer in Political Science in Morris College, Nagpur.
Deshpande joined Vinoba Bhave's Bhudan movement in 1952. She undertook a 40,000-kilometer Padyatra across India to carry Gandhi's message of Gram Swaraj. She recognized that it was difficult to practice Gandhian principles, yet believed that doing so was the only way towards a truly democratic society.
Deshpande was known to be the spirit behind peace marches in Punjab and Kashmir when violence was at its peak in those states. She served as the president of a historical organization, Harijan Sevak Sangh, from June 1983 till her death. She was associated with many social organizations and bodies. She founded Akhil Bharat Rachnatmak Samaj that won the National Communal Harmony Award in 2004.
Nirmala Deshpande was a nominated member of the Rajya Sabha twice. Deshpande received the Rajiv Gandhi National Sadbhavna Award in 2005 and the Padma Vibhushan in 2006.
You're watching News on the Hour. We're heading for a short break. When we come back, we'll get to international updates. Stay with us.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break. Let's get to global updates. We begin by taking a look at the global COVID situation from across the world. As per the figures, more than 24 crore 18 lakh people have been infected by the virus across the world so far. Over 21 crore 92 lakh have recovered from the virus. The number of people that have lost their lives due to it account to over 49 lakh 20,000 across the world. The United States continues to be the worst affected country. Over 4 crore 58 lakh people in the country have so far been infected by the virus, while more than 7 lakh 45,000 people have died due to the virus in the US. Meanwhile, the United States reported over 45,000 new cases on Monday. The country has been witnessing a spike over the past few days due to the Delta variant of the virus. The deadly virus has claimed lives of 599 people yesterday. The new infection has increased the total number of cases in the country to over 4 crore 58 lakh 95,000. Singapore is scheduled to reopen its border to vaccinated visitors from around 10 countries from this day onwards. The city-state initially fought the pandemic by shutting borders, lockdowns of varying intensity and aggressive contact tracing. But with more than 80% of the population fully vaccinated, authorities in the global aviation hub are keen to revive the economy. They opened travel lanes for vaccinated passengers from Brunei and Germany in September and will expand the scheme to another 8 countries. The lane with South Korea will start on November 15th. Under the policy, passengers will not have to quarantine if they have been fully vaccinated and tested negative for the virus before they depart and on their arrival. The number of deaths from the virus in Iran has increased to 1,24,256, with 181 more patients dead due to the virus over the past 24 hours. According to the report, 11,844 new cases of the infection with COVID-19 were found over past 24 hours, 1,804 of whom were hospitalized. It is noted that 53,33,304 patients out of a total of 57,96,659 have recovered or have been discharged from hospitals, with 4,693 COVID patients in critical condition in the ICUs. Iranian ministry has confirmed that over 4 crore 89 lakh have received the first dose of the vaccine and over 2 crore 51 lakh people have so far received the second dose of the vaccine. In Nigeria, gunmen killed at least 43 people in an attack a village market in the northern state of Sokoto. Sokoto governor today said that the assault began at a weekly market in Goronyo on Sunday and continued into today as well. Police confirmed that the bandits had attacked Goronyo. Meanwhile, an official said the African country's security forces have killed 10 armed bandits in a recent operation against the hideouts of the bandits in the northwest state of Kaduna. Phone networks in the area have been suspended for weeks to disrupt the gang's operations, making information gathering difficult. Since last month, Nigerian troops have been conducting air and ground operations against bandit camps in the neighboring Zamfara state. US President Joe Biden ordered flags at the White House and other federal buildings lowered to half staff on Monday in tribute to former Joint Chiefs Chairman and Secretary of State Colin Powell, who died at the age of 84. The flags will remain lowered until sunset on October 22nd. Powell, the first black U.S. Secretary of State, a top military officer and a national security advisor, died on Monday due to complications after COVID. He was fully vaccinated. Powell was a prominent figure for decades. He served 3 Republican presidents in senior posts and ascended to leadership of the U.S. military. In 2008, he broke with his party to endorse Democrat Barack Obama. He also endorsed Democrats Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election and Joe Biden last year against Donald Trump. He was the top U.S. military officer when American-led forces drove Iraqi troops from Kuwait in 1991 and the chief U.S. diplomat in 2003 when Washington relied on erroneous intelligence about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction to justify its invasion of Iraq. Vice President Kamala Harris lauded Colin Powell and said that he broke many barriers which were not easy to break by any stretch.
He obviously served with dignity, he served with grace. He was the epitome of what it means to be strong, but at the same time, so modest in terms of everything that he did and said, in a way that it was never about him, it was about the country, and it was about the people who served with him. broke so many barriers, and those barriers were not easy to break by any stretch. But he did it with dignity, he did it with grace. And because of what he was able to accomplish, it really did elevate our nation in so many ways. So, may he rest.
United Nations spokesperson said that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was saddened by passing of former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell.
Secretary General is saddened by the passing of Colin Powell, the former U.S. Secretary of State. Mr. Powell, who was the first African-American Secretary of State, had a distinguished career both in defense and foreign policy. The Secretary General extends his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families, the government, and the people of the United States.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken paid tribute to one of his predecessors, Colin Powell, and said that he storied the career as a military leader and diplomat and was a victory for the American dream. Blinken also praised Powell's tenure as the State Department.
Powell was simply and completely a leader, and he knew how to build a strong and united team. He treated people the way he expected them to treat each other, and he made sure that they knew he would always have their back. The result was that his people would walk through walls for him.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin hailed late Colin Powell as one of the greatest leaders we have ever witnessed. Austin called Powell a tremendous friend and a mentor.
The world lost one of the greatest leaders that we have ever witnessed. And I lost a tremendous personal friend and mentor. He has been my mentor for a number of years. He always made time for me, and I could always go to him with tough issues. He always had great counsel. We will certainly miss him. I feel as if I have a hole in my heart.
Iran backs talks with 6 major powers that are result-oriented, Iranian hardline President Ibrahim Raisi said yesterday, as Tehran and 6 powers struggle to overcome snags hampering the resumption of negotiations to revive a 2015 nuclear deal. In April, Iran and 6 powers started talks to reinstate the deal that then US President Donald Trump ditched 3 years ago and reimposed sanctions that have squeezed Iran's oil exports. But the talks were put on hold after Raisi's election in June. Western powers have urged Iran to return to negotiations, warning that time is running out as Tehran's nuclear program is advancing well beyond limits of the nuclear pact. In response to Trump's reimposition of sanctions, Tehran has breached the deal by rebuilding stockpiles of enriched uranium, refining it to higher fissile purity and installing advanced centrifuges to speed up output. North Korea fired at least 1 ballistic missile off its east coast on Tuesday, officials in South Korea and Japan said. The launch came as Seoul opens a major spy chiefs meet to discuss the nuclear standoff, and South Korea prepares for a space launch. The North Korean launch would be the latest weapons test by the country, which has pressed ahead with military development in face of international sanctions imposed over its nuclear weapons and missile programs. It has stated that South Korea's military is closely monitoring the situation and maintaining readiness posture in close cooperation with the United States to prepare for possible additional launches. The launch came as the intelligence chiefs of the United States, South Korea and Japan were due to meet in Seoul to discuss the standoff with North Korea amidst the issues. South Korea is also preparing to test fire its first homegrown space launch vehicle on Thursday. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said that the 2 ballistic missiles had been detected and that it was regrettable that North Korea had conducted a string of missile tests in recent weeks.
North Korea just fired 2 ballistic missiles. It is very regrettable that the country has continued launching missiles since last month. I would rather not predict North Korea's intentions of firing the missiles from my point of view. But I think we must continue making efforts on grasping the situation and collecting information.
The United States top envoy for North Korea, Sung Kim, on Monday reiterated calls for Pyongyang to engage in dialogue following a meeting with the Republic of Korea Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs. U.S. Special Representative for North Korea said that both the nations harbor no hostile intent towards the DPRK and that they are open to meeting with them without preconditions. Also, top South Korean new convoy No Kyu-duk said that he had productive consultations with Representative Sung Kim again, and he hoped that North Korea would respond to calls to resume talks. He added that South Korea and the US shared evaluation of the recent situation on the Korean peninsula and agreed that it is very important to keep the situation stable on the peninsula without escalating military tensions. The intelligence chiefs of the United States, South Korea and Japan were due to meet in Seoul to discuss the standoff with North Korea. Amidst other issues, the U.S. Special Representative for North Korea, Sung Kim, said that he would visit Seoul for talks this week. In Myanmar, the military government has started to release more than 5,600 people who were arrested during the anti-government protests in the country after the February 1 coup. The released include 1,300 people jailed for protest against the government, while the remaining 4,300 are those who face charges of anti-government activism of various kinds. Deposed State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi's party spokespersons have also been released. Political prisoners, including journalists and parliamentarians, were released from other towns. However, those charged with violent activities have not been released under this amnesty scheme. The release of the prisoners comes after ASEAN decision to invite a non-political representative from Myanmar for its summit meeting scheduled to be held between 26th and 28th of October. Now, according to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, Burma, 7,355 people are detained in Myanmar following the military takeover. It reports that 1,181 people have been killed in protests since February 1st. The European Union's head of climate change policy said on Monday that going back to using dirty energy from coal during the current energy crunch was not a smart move, and markets should take the opportunity to transit into renewables. The collective industrial recovery this year following the COVID pandemic crisis has led to a surge in demand and also prices for energy everywhere. Indonesia, the world's 8th largest greenhouse gas emitter, is aiming to reach net zero carbon emission by 2060 or earlier, which includes plans to phase out use of coal-fired plants.
But it will blow over, and then it would be a tragedy if in this crunch we would start investing again in coal, which is an energy carrier that has no future and is extremely polluting.
The United States will not join international talks on Afghanistan organized by Russia on October 20th. The U.S. State Department has blamed logistical issues but said that it considered the Russian-led forum constructive. State Department spokesperson Ned Price said that the U.S. will not participate in the Moscow talks. He added that the Troika Plus has been an effective and a constructive forum. The United States has been encouraging nations not to recognize the Taliban government, hoping to leverage on key issues of concern, including the rights of women and girls. Russian envoy Zamir Kabulov on Friday announced the four-nation talks in Moscow, saying they would aim to work out a common position on the changing situation in Afghanistan, and this will be the first Moscow format dialogue since the takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban in August. India has also got an invite for the Moscow format meeting on Afghanistan, and it will participate in the deliberations. A Russia-led post-Soviet security bloc started its largest military drills near Tajik-Afghan border in years on Monday amidst cross-border tensions ahead of talks between Afghanistan's new Taliban leaders and major regional powers. Unlike Afghanistan's other northern neighbors, Tajikistan has refused to recognize the Islamist Taliban movement, and there are reports of troop build-ups on both sides of the border. The exercise carried out by the Collective Security Treaty Organization will involve over 5,000 servicemen, more than half of the Russian soldiers, Russia and Tajikistan's defense ministries. The 6-day drills follow a series of smaller-scale exercises held in the vicinity of the Afghan border by Russia and its Central Asian allies in August and September. A high-level Taliban delegation is set to visit Moscow this week for the talks. The top US envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, has stepped down from his role of US chief interlocutor for Afghanistan. Zalmay Khalilzad led the US dialogue with the Taliban, but months of diplomatic talks failed to prevent the militant group from seizing power. In a letter to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Khalilzad defended his record but acknowledged that he came up short and said that he wanted to make way during the new phase of Afghanistan policy. His letter further stated that the political arrangement between the Afghan government and the Taliban did not go forward as envisaged. Though he did not share much, saying that the reasons for this are too complex and that he will share his thoughts in the coming days and weeks. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has stated that Khalilzad's deputy, Thomas West, would take over. You're watching News on the Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour. Let's get you business updates now. The S&P and Nasdaq ended the day's trade in green. The markets got boost from the highest profile technology and communications companies. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 36.15 points or 0.1% to 35,258. S&P 500 gained 15.09 points or 0.34% to 4,486. Now the Nasdaq Composite added 124.47 points or 0.84% to 15,021.81. Indian equity benchmarks, Sensex and Nifty started this session this morning at record highs, with the 30 scrip index crossing the 62,000 level for the first time. Gains in financial, IT and rattle shares pushed the market higher. Broader markets boosted the sentiment, with the mid-cap and small-cap gauges up 0.8% and 1.1% respectively. Analysts awaited more quarterly results from India Incorporated for Qs. Niti Aayog on Monday launched the Geospatial Energy Map of India. The map attempts to identify and locate all primary and secondary sources of energy and their transportation networks to provide a comprehensive view of energy production and distribution in the country. Niti Aayog, in collaboration with the Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, has developed the comprehensive Geographic Information System Energy Map. with the support of Energy Ministries of India. The GIS map provides a holistic picture of all energy resources of the country, which enables visualization of energy installations such as conventional power plants, oil and gas wells, petroleum refineries, coal fields and coal blocks, district-wise data on renewable energy power plants, and also renewable energy resource potential. Let's turn focus to sports now. India has defeated England by 7 wickets in its first warm-up match of the ICC T20 World Cup. England's Johnny Bairstow smashed a 36-ball 49 to help England post a challenging 188 for 5. Moeen Ali's whirlwind 20-ball 43, which powered England to a good score in the end, and India's Mohammad Shami snapped 3 wickets. Later, India's Ishan Kishan opened the innings in Rohit's absence, and after getting dropped twice, sent the English bowlers to a leather hunt during his 46-ball 70. India will play its second and last practice match on October 20th. And Sri Lanka defeated Namibia by 7 wickets in their Group A Round 1 match of the ongoing T20 World Cup at Sheikh Zayed Stadium in Abu Dhabi on Monday. Chasing a target of 97 runs, Sri Lanka posted 100 for 3 in 13.3 overs. Bhanuka Rajapaksa was his side's top scorer and was unbeaten after playing a knock of 42 in 27 balls. Meanwhile, Avishka Fernando was also unbeaten after smashing 30 of 28 deliveries. Earlier, Namibia were bowled out for 96 in 19.3 overs, with Craig Williams hitting 29 in 36 balls. Mahesh Theekshana was in top form, taking 3 wickets for Sri Lanka. Ireland defeated Netherlands by 7 wickets in their first round Group B match of the ICC T20 World Cup on Monday. Ireland first dismissed Netherlands for 106 in exactly 20 overs, with Curtis Campher and Mark Adair sharing 7 wickets. Opener Max Topt scored with a 47-ball 51 for Netherlands after skipper Peter Silar opted to bat. Campher incidentally took Ireland's first hat-trick in T20 internationals. Chasing the total, Ireland romped home with 15.1 overs, with Gareth Delaney hitting 44 of 29 balls and Paul Stirling scoring an unbeaten 30 of 39 balls. And Scotland and Papua New Guinea are set to lock horns in the 5th match of the T20 World Cup qualifiers today. The match will take place at Al Amirat Cricket Ground in Al Amirat, and the Scottish team is led by Kyle Kodza, starting their campaign on a resounding note, beating Bangladesh by 6 runs on Sunday. Chris Greaves' all-round show made sure that Scotland are edged out as the favourites, and on the other hand, Papua New Guinea got off to the worst possible start. On the same day, host Oman thrashed them by 10 wickets after chasing down 130 with 38 balls left. Barring Asadwala, none of their players could perform. And in another match, Oman and Bangladesh will lock horns in the 6th match of the T20 World Cup qualifiers today at Al Amirat Cricket Ground. Oman started on a handsome note as they thumped Papua New Guinea by 10 wickets to register their maiden win in the event. Jatinder Singh and Aqib Ilyas scored 50s to help Oman cross the finishing line with 38 balls to spare. Bangladesh, on the contrary, slumped to a 6-run loss at the hands of Scotland on Sunday. After getting the opponent on the mat, they let Scotland make a stupendous comeback. And Eid Milad-ul-Nabi, which commemorates the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, is being celebrated with religious fervour across the country. The Prophet's birthday falls on the 12th day of the Islamic month of Rabi'ul Awwal. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have extended greetings and good wishes on the occasion. In a message, the President said that Prophet Muhammad's life is an example of fraternity, compassion and affection. He will always remain a source of inspiration for humanity. Let us take inspiration from his life and ideals and work for prosperity of the society and promotion of peace and harmony in the country. Extending his greetings, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that the Holy Prophet showed humanity the righteous path of compassion, tolerance and universal brotherhood. May his eternal message continue to guide us in building a just, humane and harmonious society. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended greetings on Milad-un-Nabi. The Prime Minister in a tweet said that let there be peace and prosperity all around. May the virtues of kindness and brotherhood always prevail. Eid Mubarak. Mumbai Police has issued an order prohibiting all processions on Eid-e-Milad prohibited except one procession in Mumbai City District and another in Mumbai Suburban District in view of the COVID pandemic. In most of the places, there will be no large-scale Milad procession in view of the restrictions. However, Milad Mehfils and Seerat Majalis will be held while adhering to COVID norms and guidelines. All right, that's it in this edition of News on the Hour this morning. But before we go, we leave you with some astounding amalgamation of modern art and new technology that could be seen as the Prague city centre was illuminated by a light and laser show. Colourful and intense was how spectators described it. Have a look at these spectacular visuals. Bye-bye.